First of all, thank you again. I really appreciate it.
No problem at all. Don't worry.
I was not at Cannes, where I understand the movie where the Sapphires was extremely well received there.
Yeah, well, yeah.
But I was at Telluride, and I've seen here as well what people are, the reactions have been, and it's pretty unusual to see this kind of enthusiasm. So I just wonder, generally, state of your mind right now, how do you feel?
Well, I've got no frame of reference.
Yeah.
I've never done the festival circuit before with a film, so I just imagine it's always like this. But I'm really enjoying it. Like, it's a film that I love, so it's nice to be able to. Sometimes you end up promoting a lot of films that you like, but you're not invested in a kind of emotional way. But I am with this one, so it's kind of a treat.
Yeah. Now, for people that want to get to know your background a little more,
yeah.
I just have to put you through some of those questions.
Sure.
I think by the accent they'll form their conclusions. But where were you born and raised?
Minnesota. I'm from the west of Ireland. Grew up. Went to college in Dublin, and then went to drama school in London. And I've been there, I suppose, now for a decade or so.
And were films a big part of your life growing up, or what first sort of planted the seed for you?
Not really. I mean, I come from a very kind of musical side of the country, and so it was a lot of traditional Irish music and a lot of art. And my dad was a sign writer, so it was quite a draw-y household. And it wasn't until I went to college and I was studying politics and started doing plays, just like shooting plays, that I really got into it. And I loved it really from the off. And I started doing more and more to the end result where I didn't even finish my degree. And then went to drama school and just kind of continued it.
And was it the kind of thing that was there a chance that you would just stay in Ireland and make a career out of this, or did it always sort of seem likely that you would end up having an international career?
I don't think that ever seemed likely. That still seems unlikely, but it's very enjoyable what's happening. It's funny that I've been doing a good bit of comedy stuff, and that never really occurred to me that was a potential life choice. That wasn't, when I was growing up, something that I believed a person could make a wage from. So that's been a nice learning experience. And I don't know, in terms of, because I went to drama school in London, I presumed I'd live there and work, and then I would go back and stay in Ireland for a bit. But this whole kind of working in America stuff is relatively new and very surprising to me. And there was this slight leap of faith, I think. I was in like an 8-year relationship in London, and it kind of broke up, and I just needed to get out of the country. And so I went to America and tried to sell my wares a little bit, I guess. And it kind of went well.
So, as you see it, looking back, was there one thing that was a initial big break that opened the door to doing other things?
Yeah, I feel like there's been 2 or 3 where I did a film called Festival, which was a little Scottish film about the Edinburgh Festival, where I play a comedian who wins the Edinburgh Festival, but is kind of a very rough and ready kind of guy who is looking for, I don't know, some kind of acceptance from a cool audience, kind of a character. And that was a lot of fun, and that went well, and I was young, and it was the first kind of leading role, and that led to a few other things. And then I worked with Mike Lee on a film.
Yes, very great.
Yeah, and that was kind of very helpful in loads of ways, particularly more in an artistic way than anything else, because I got to work where I got to improvise, obviously, because all of his stuff is improvised. And I loved that. So I was drawn more into that. And then I got cast in a show called The IT Crowd. And that, career-wise, was very helpful, because people got to know who I was and all that kind of stuff. And then Bridesmaids. So I think all of those things together.
Stepping stones, yeah. It's interesting, though, that you say, because to me it seems like so many of these projects that you mentioned, obviously certainly not Vera Drake, but the others have that comedic element, and you seem so at home doing comedy that I would have assumed that was always your direction. Yeah,
no, not really. I mean, it kind of, the drama school I went to was quite straight and was very Shakespearean and classical based, and that was what I started off doing. And then I kind of as you do when you're a young actor, you go for auditions for a bit of everything, and that seemed to be a world that I was connecting to a lot more. And I love it. I just love comedy. I just find it's such an art, and when you get to kind of work with people who are masters, that you learn so much, and I just love it. I really do, like in a very visceral, fanny kind of way.
Is it a cathartic thing, maybe?
Absolutely,
yeah.
And it's it's one of the few genres that people appreciate in a very like body-moving way. Like horror and comedy, the only two things where you'll recoil or come to you, and love all that. I know it kind of sounds silly, but it's nice to actually move people literally.
Yeah. Now, looking back, I see there was sort of within a relatively short amount of time, Dinner for Schmucks, Friends with Kids, and Bridesmaids, and I just wanted that in a way we're sort of living in the Apatow era,
Yeah.
And I wonder, how did you first come to be a part of that circle, which you now, and on top of that now, Girls, you've had your
right.
So I wonder, it's a rarefied group. How'd you break in?
I've been so lucky. I went the first encounter. I had this weird encounter actually, which kind of isn't any way relevant to working with him, but I was in LA and I was hanging out with my now wife, and we went to a Louis C.K. gig, and we were backstage afterwards, and Judd came in, and I pointed him out to Dawn, and I was like, "Oh, that's Judd Apatow," and she's like, "I don't know who that is," and I didn't realize it until it came out of my mouth, but I said, he's kind of the reason I'm here. He is our John Hughes or whatever. It's that kind of brand of comedy that he works on, where it's really funny and everything, but also I believe all the relationships and all the characters are truthful and honest, and I love all that. So I didn't have the guts to even say hi to him at that time, but then the Bridesmaids thing came about, and I just went for an audition. I imagine with a bunch of people who were much more qualified. And, to be honest, I went into that audition with no expectation of getting the job, and I actually went in thinking, I hope I make a good impression. And I saw people's like on audition, like when you go to casting calls and stuff, there's like a sheet outside with people's names on, just assigning their times. Those names on there are the people that I really liked.
Yeah.
So I was like, wow, this is.
Can I nudge you to say, were there people that
I won't, because, if they got the job ahead of me, I wouldn't name them happily. But they're good people. So, but anyway, I went in and I had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And the director was actually a big IT Crowd fan, so he kind of urged me to do it in my own accent and just to just have fun and improvise with Kristen, and she was so kind of up for that and so fun, and that was it. And then so I met Judd for the first time the next day when he invited me to his office, and we talked about it, and the whole meeting I had with him, he never mentioned the fact that I got the job. He just kept saying, "This is going to be a really fun film. It's going to be so great." And I was like, "If I haven't got the job, then you're really rubbing my nose in it." But it turned out okay.
Right.
And then from there, I just got on really great with those guys. So the Friends with Kids thing kind of happened through that a little bit. Working with John Hamm a bit. And then I was working on This Is 40. And a lot of my scenes were with Lena Dunham. So she asked me to come and do a bit on her show. Turned into a bit more than that. So it kind of happened just kind of fairly organically like that. You're working with people and you get on, and then they're like, okay, well, let's do something else.
And all of a sudden you're everywhere.
I know, I'm having a brief moment.
No, I don't know about that, but I think that I guess the one that of all of these in some ways I think could click with people the most when it comes out. I don't know if it's been determined when that will be, but really is the Sapphires, because it moves people so much, as I'm sure you've seen in the screenings that you've been at. And I just wonder, again, here it's a first-time feature director, Wayne Blair, and you're really the only actor in there that most people will have heard of. So for you in this case, what sold you on the idea? You know, I was thinking it's funny just even sitting here where the American son of a South African talking to an Irishman in Canada about a movie in Australia. I mean, the odds are crazy. So for you, how did that how did you get sold on that one?
I mean, it was an easier sell than you would imagine. Like, I thought that I just thought it was a really great script, and I felt like I hadn't seen it before. And I know that kind of tale of women, you know, or whatever, a band succeeding and stuff, isn't necessarily an original one, but I'd never seen The World. And I didn't know that much about the Indigenous Australian struggle. Like, I knew bits and pieces, but and I thought it was actually, there was some funny stuff in it, like, and proper funny. So, and the music is, I love all that kind of music. And more than anything, I was conscious that I wanted it. I got sent the script 2 weeks after Bridesmaids came out, and I was being offered a lot of stuff of the similar ilk to Bridesmaids, but without the kind of craft. So I wanted to get away and do something very different. And maybe do something a bit smaller where I could show my own voice a bit more. And so it was an Aboriginal musical that seemed to fit the bill.
But I mean, even to the extent, like, was there ever a guarantee at the beginning that this movie would be seen?
No, all I thought that would, honestly, what my kind of what I thought would happen with the film would be that it would probably do pretty well in Australia and maybe make it to New Zealand, and at the most maybe make it to England because it's a big Australian population there. And I honestly didn't think it would see any more than that, and hopefully just about make its money back, kind of a thing. And that's what I thought it would be.
Right.
And it's turned out that it hasn't, and I'm not surprised once I've seen it. And you know, Warwick, who shot the film, and Wayne are really bright guys, and it looks gorgeous, and the girls, the music is just so good that it kind of crosses all boundaries. And
I mean, to me, this is you're funnier in this than in any of those other things, and you were funny in a lot of those.
Oh, thanks.
So I just wonder though, how much are we talking improv? And also, you said that wasn't something you were necessarily that trained in or whatever prior to Mike Lee. Where, like, first of all, was it improvised? And then also, if so, like, where do you come up with this stuff?
I don't know. I mean, I see a good bit of it is improvised, but also I kind of see, like, in terms of, you know, improvisation is great, but I don't think it's necessarily the most important thing in terms of comedy. What's most important is kind of collaboration. So, let's say I'll send Wayne some ideas of what I think would be funny bits or scenes that we could do. And also, not even funny, but important stuff that, like, I wrote a scene for the film where, because I felt like we were missing a beat, so I wrote a scene where I'm at the piano and I do this speech about the difference between country and western music and soul music.
Yeah, that's great.
And all of that stuff about, you know, why it should be important to them, because it's about, you know, women searching and struggling and all that, which wasn't in the film, and it kind of felt like there was a missing beat there. So that's not an improv, but that's kind of like something I would have sent him maybe a week before we were due to shoot. And then on the day you kind of massage it a bit, and I'll come up with maybe some funny lines for the girls, a little bit for me. And he was it's great when you're working with those kind of writers like Tony and Keith and then Wayne, who aren't overly precious and they're not drawn by their own ego, so they're happiest for just it to be great.
Right.
And sometimes you're working with directors and that's just not the case.
Yeah.
Their ears just aren't open to ideas, because they don't necessarily want to make the best film. They want to make the film that's in their heads. So, you know, I was very lucky in that regard.
Oh, and that scene is just one of the great. I mean, so what do you say? You said that country is whining about your problems, and soul is doing something about it. Or?
Yeah, they haven't given up.
Right.
And that's there's something interesting in that.
Absolutely. Well, just to wrap it up, I wonder what you make of the just sort of the what do you think is going to happen with this movie? Is it when it, you know, who will most respond to it, and for you, what's next? I know you've got TV shows and movies and things, so just for the people who are at this festival or who have enjoyed Bridesmaids or Girls or all the different places where you are now, just a little tease of where they can find you next.
First of all, I think I hope the film I hope it gets a good release, you know, because I think it will work. I think it'll work in the mainstream, but I think it's, you know, it's really, you know what it's like. It's hard to tell at this stage who's gonna relate to it. And I think it could play in the southern heartlands because I think it's got quite a family message, and it could play to people in Detroit because of the music. I think it's got a really great potential. So I just hope it gets out there.
Yeah.
And then for me, what's coming up? We've got this is 40. It'll be out Christmas kind of time, I think, and that's going to be a lot of fun. And I've written a TV show which we're shooting at the moment in my hometown in the west of Ireland.
Wow.
And that's a kind of autobiographical piece called Moon Boy.
Okay.
And we're actually shooting the second series of it. The first series starts airing next week.
Wow.
So that's going to be fun.
And you have is that the HBO?
No, then there's a HBO show called Family Tree.
Okay.
Which I'm doing with Christopher Guest.
Wow.
So
wow.
I think the improvisation thing's going to be a lot of fun there.
And then is NBC?
Oh yeah, I don't know when we're going to do that. I kind of run out of time on that one, but I'll pick it up because I love the idea.
So basically, you're just sitting at home looking for things to do. You're not too very.
I'm very much, trying to make hay while the sun shines. And Wayne Blair always says a thing where today's cockerel is tomorrow's feather duster. So I'm just trying to get stuff out there while I feel like I'm doing decent work.
Oh, that's great, and I really appreciate you doing this, and congratulations. It's a pretty exciting, it must be an exciting time to be you.
I'm having such a fun time.
Wow.
I just got married. I'm just loving it.
Awesome. Well, enjoy.
Thanks so much.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate
Lovely to meet you.
You too.